Our scripture lesson this morning comes from Exodus 17, beginning with the first verse, reading through verse 7. The whole Israelite community set out from the desert of Sinai, traveling from place to place as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. So they quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses replied, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you put the Lord to the test?" But the people were thirsty for water there, and they grumbled against Moses. They said, "Why did you bring us up out of Egypt to make us and our children and livestock die of thirst?" Then Moses cried out to the Lord, "What am I to do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me." The Lord answered Moses, "Walk on ahead of the people. Take with you some of the elders of Israel, and take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will stand there before you by the rock at Horeb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it for the people to drink." So Moses did this in the sight of the elders of Israel. He called the place Massah and Meribah, because the Israelites quarreled, and because they tested the Lord, saying, "Is the Lord among us or not?" The word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. You know, sometimes it's hard to keep perspective in the midst of adversity. At least it is for me, and perhaps some of you can relate to. We see that a bit in today's scripture from Exodus, don't we? Our lesson is part of the account of the wanderings of Israel following their escape from Egypt and the crossing of the Red Sea. It describes challenges the Israelites faced as they headed toward Sinai. Starting in Exodus 15, we read of 3 experiences that are, in effect, tests of God's care and provision for the people in need out in the wilderness. First is their urgent cry for drinkable water, prompting the Israelites to turn against their leader, Moses. Under God's guidance, however, Moses was able to change the bitter water at the oasis of Marah into sweet, drinkable water. You know, like crystal light. And all was well for a time. Then in Exodus 16, the people are grumbling and complaining again, this time about the lack of food. They're so distressed that they wish aloud that they were back in the bonds of slavery in Egypt, where at least they said they had plenty of meat and bread to eat. Here again, the Lord gave them everything they needed, providing the mysterious food called manna each morning, and plenty of quail each evening for meat, with a double portion to cover the Sabbath. Kind of like Golden Corral, just not as many choices. Once again, God was faithful in taking care of his people. But in our lesson this morning from Exodus 17, we see the people complaining and panicky yet again over the lack of water at their latest encampment. So they rail against Moses, demanding the prophet do something about it. The Lord intervenes once more, enabling Moses to produce gushing water by striking a rock with his staff. It seems, as always, God is a very present help in time of trouble. Try getting people to see that in the midst of turmoil and uncertainty. And on this point, verse 7 is very telling. Note it says Moses named the place Massa and Meribah, quote, because the people of Israel argued with Moses and tested the Lord by saying, is the Lord here with us or not? Yes, sometimes it is hard to keep perspective in the midst of adversity. Like Simon Peter stepping out of the boat on the Sea of Galilee when Jesus called him. We look down at the waves crashing below and take our eyes off of Jesus for a moment. We surrender to fear and doubt and begin to submerge until the familiar hand of Christ once again lifts us to safety. Janet and I had our own little wilderness experience last Sunday evening as we began our trip home from Hampton, Virginia. We had traveled there to see our granddaughter, Emily, play softball for her college team. It had been a really, really good weekend. But a couple minor frustrations cropped up not long after we hit the road. And as a result, we both were feeling kind of crabby as we looked ahead to 10 hours of drive time to get home. Less than an hour into the trip, a terrible, roaring racket brought us to a sudden halt on I-64, about 15 miles north of Williamsburg, Virginia. One of our tires had suffered a blowout, and we were stuck. Now, not unlike the Israelites, my first instinct when the going gets tough is to cry out, my God, why have you forsaken me? Perhaps I tend a little to the melodramatic side, especially when the issue is car trouble. But how strangely wonderful things turned out for us as the evening went on. We called AAA and they dispatched a tow truck within the hour before darkness had set in. The operator, a fellow named David, was very personable and considerate. He assisted Janet in moving from the van to the tow truck. And as we made the 20-minute drive back to Williamsburg, we got to know him a bit. It became obvious from the conversation that he was a Christian. Although a relatively young man, we learned that David had been getting dialysis 3 times a week for several years. He'd had a kidney transplant some time ago, which failed. And now he was once again trying to get on the transplant list. His positive attitude was truly inspiring. Did I mention he also serves as a paramedic? He also shared that he had just returned from making 2 volunteer trips to Nashville to deliver equipment needed there to deal with the recent tornado disaster. Suddenly, our travel problems didn't seem like such a big deal. Before you know it, our van was safely parked outside a Firestone tire store in Williamsburg, and we were checked in to a nice hotel right next door. I felt a deep sense of gratitude for God's amazing provision, including our our tow truck driver, and his wonderful example of faith in the midst of hard times. Now, likewise, Janet pointed out that God may have used that blown tire to protect us from some unknown danger down the road. How great is our God. We sure are glad we got to see Emily's team play when we did, because on Wednesday, it was 4 days ago, the university suspended their season in response to the coronavirus. Indeed, Wednesday seemed to be a tipping point in the USA with regard to this virus, as scores of dramatic steps were taken in rapid succession by government leaders and others trying their utmost to contain the spread of this illness. In this very strange new world we suddenly find ourselves in, things that would have been unthinkable just a few weeks ago have suddenly become the new normal. Every day brings new developments that come as a shock to our senses. The stock market has gone belly up, while toilet paper has become the new gold standard among a frightened populace. These are indeed wilderness times, my friends. And right now, the whole world seems to feel like one big wilderness. Earlier this month, the Reverend Carolyn Moore of Augusta, Georgia, offered a little late winter encouragement. Now, this was before the coronavirus had completely captured the nation's psyche. In a March 6th blog post, just 9 days ago, she wrote, "Cloudy skies and rain for weeks. Trump, Biden, Bernie, coronavirus, stock prices, tornadoes, seasonal affective disorder, the season of higher rates of death for older adults. UMC death throes. It is a lot to absorb. And more continued. When we are all wound tight and anxious, we go looking for someone to blame. We carry a low-grade irritation toward others that burns away all the grace. When you see that bubbling up, resist it. That may well be the enemy of your soul, baiting you with the spirit of offense. Don't take the bait. More added. Fight back. Answer frustration with patience and irritation with kindness. Unquote. This strikes me as wise counsel. In fact, I'd suggest as part of our job description as Christians, we are to live with an attitude of gratitude in the middle of some pretty dark wilderness days in the world. You know, like that tow truck driver I mentioned. And like so many other good souls we've come to know on the journey of faith. By doing so, living with an attitude of gratitude, maybe we can bring some rays of hope to the desperate, frightened people we may well encounter in the coming days and weeks. We have everything we need to sustain our faith in the power and the presence of Jesus Christ in our lives. And the Lord has given us a remarkable toolkit to help us. The tools of faith, prayer, compassion, and mercy. As followers of Jesus, we are not conformed to the world's anxiety and fears. At least we don't have to be. Instead, we can be transformed by the renewing of our mind, even as we seek God's good and perfect will in these wilderness days. To put it another way, we can live like we are baptized. As Lutheran writer Roy Askins explains, you live like you are baptized when you believe that nothing, absolutely nothing in all creation can separate you from the love of God in Christ Jesus. Askins adds, to live like you are baptized means not fearing the deadly plague or any disease more than you fear, love, and trust in God. Returning to our lesson, Old Testament scholar Anna Grant Henderson of Australia notes that all these stories from the book of Exodus about the Israelites wandering and complaining in the wilderness make it clear that God is faithful and is to be trusted even in the most difficult circumstances. God's promises will be fulfilled. In other words, God delivers. We can count on Christ. Absolutely. Even as Christ is counting on us. Now, there is such a thing as a healthy fear, and we are wise to take common sense steps to guard against the spread of this virus and to protect our healthcare system from becoming overwhelmed. So wash your hands often and use hand sanitizer as needed. Avoid touching your nose, eyes, mouth, your face with unwashed hands. Stay away from crowds and avoid people who are sick. And by all means, stay home if you are sick. Continue to follow the recommendations from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, as well as our state health department and so forth. But take heart, sisters and brothers, for this too shall pass. As a wise person once said, when things are bad, remember, it won't always be this way. Take one day at a time. And when things are good, remember, it won't always be this way. Enjoy every great moment. In the meantime, let's all turn our eyes upon Jesus and hold to this great truth. God is our refuge and our strength, a very present help in time of trouble. Thanks be to God. Amen. Well, we're glad to be able to present this message in this new format. And as a final word, I'd like to offer a blessing on this day for all of you. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. The sun shine warm upon your face. The rain falls soft upon your fields. And until we meet again,